Live service games were supposed to be the future of gaming. The idea was simple. Instead of releasing a game and moving on, developers would build a constantly evolving world, keeping players engaged for years with new content, events, and updates. At first, it seemed like a dream come true. Games like Destiny, Fortnite, and GTA Online made billions of dollars and kept players hooked for years. But somewhere along the way, things went terribly wrong. Today, live service games are shutting down faster than ever. Publishers are abandoning projects, developer teams are being laid off, and even major studios are failing to keep their games alive. Games like Suicide Squad, Marvel's Avengers, and Anthem were supposed to be massive hits, yet they barely lasted a few years before getting shut down. So what happened? Did publishers get too greedy? Did they oversaturate the market? Or is this the end of live service gaming as we know it? Let's break it all down. The rise of live service games. Before we talk about the fall of live service games, we need to understand why they were so hyped in the first place. The idea of a game that never ends isn't new. MMORPGs like World of Warcraft has been doing it for decades, charging monthly subscriptions to keep their worlds alive. But live service gaming really exploded in the 2010s with games like Destiny, Warframe, GTA Online, and Fortnite. These games proved that you could create a long-lasting, evolving experience while making insane amounts of money. Instead of selling a game once, developers could introduce battle passes, microtransactions, and seasonal content to keep players engaged. This was a goldmine for publishers. Fortnite alone made over $9 billion in just 2 years. GTA Online became Rockstar's biggest moneymaker. With these success stories, every major publisher wanted their own live service game. Ubisoft, EA, Square Enix, and Warner Brothers all started chasing the model, hoping to create the next Fortnite or Destiny. But there was one big problem. Not every game needs to be live service. The oversaturation problem. When live service games started making billions of dollars, every company jumped on the bandwagon. Within a few years, we saw a flood of live service titles. Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Battlefield 2042, Suicide Squad, Redfall, and many more. But there was a major flaw in this strategy. Live service games aren't like single-player games. A person might play multiple single-player titles in a year, but live service games require long-term commitment. They demand daily logins, grinding, and participation in seasonal events. The reality is that most players can only dedicate time to one or two live service games at a time. You can't expect someone to keep up with Destiny 2, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, and Overwatch 2 all at once. As a result, only a few games could survive while the rest were doomed to fail. Take Marvel's Avengers for example. Instead of focusing on a great single-player story, which is what people wanted, the developers forced a live service model into the game. The result, a repetitive grind-heavy experience that lost players within months. Square Enix eventually pulled the plug. Anthem suffered the same fate, promising a grand evolving world, but launching with bare-bones content and a broken gameplay loop. At this point, the market was completely oversaturated, and gamers simply didn't have the time or interest to juggle multiple live service games. The launch now, fix later mentality. One of the biggest killers of live service games is the launch now, fix later mentality. Instead of shipping a finished product, many publishers released half-baked broken games with the promise that things would improve over time. We saw this with Anthem, which launched with stunning visuals but no meaningful content. Battlefield 2042 was missing basic features like a scoreboard and voice chat. Redfall was so purely optimized that its AI enemies often didn't even attack players. The problem with this strategy is that live service games don't get second chances. A single-player game like Cyberpunk 2077 can recover after a bad launch because players can revisit it later. But if a live service game fails at launch, players simply move on to something else, and they rarely return. The moment a live service game launches in a broken state, it loses trust, and without trust, the entire business model collapses. Monetization gone wrong. If there's one thing that instantly kills a live service game, it's greedy monetization. Live service games rely on battle passes, cosmetics, and microtransactions to make money. But when companies push too far, players push back. Diablo Immortal became infamous for its pay-to-win mechanics, where maxing out a character could cost over $100,000. FIFA Ultimate Team has been under fire for its gambling-style loot boxes. This kind of aggressive monetization makes games feel like cash grabs, which immediately turns players away. A great example is Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Fans expected an Arkham-style single-player experience, but instead they got a live-service looter shooter with meaningless grinding and battle passes. The backlash was so severe that the game is already shutting down within a year of launch. At the end of the day, gamers are willing to support fair monetization, but when publishers get too greedy, they destroy their own games. The death of bad live service games. After so many failures, it's clear the publishers are finally starting to realize that not every game needs to be a live service. Ubisoft has already cancelled multiple live service projects, and even EA is shifting focus back to single-player games. Meanwhile, single-player games are thriving. Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3 and God of War Ragnarok prove that you don't need live service mechanics to be successful. Even multiplayer-focused games like Helldivers 2 are winning players over by delivering a complete high-quality experience first before introducing monetization. This doesn't mean live service games are dead. Games like Destiny 2, Warframe and GTA Online are still going strong. But the bad live service games, the ones that launch unfinished and exploit players, are dying off fast. Live service gaming isn't going anywhere entirely, but the industry is changing. Gamers have made it clear that they won't tolerate half-baked games, tight monetization, or endless grinding. But what do you think? Are live service games doomed when publishers learn from their mistakes? Or will they keep making the same bad decisions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications for more in-depth gaming content. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay silver.